Our team is Ma'am, and I'm Michelle.
I'm Aziz.
I'm Ashley.
And we're going to talk about Uber. Uber is a global transportation company founded in 2009, operated in 633 cities. The driver and the rider should have like a phone to use the company or the app. And the problem that we're going to use is you can.
Now, the problem about Uber, the main problem is it's an unfair competition. When I say unfair competition, is Uber is a taxi company. We can all agree Uber is a taxi company. But taxi companies have regulations, like water companies, like food companies, like a bakery, all have regulations. But Uber, because it's not registered under governments that it's a taxi company, so it gets out from the regulation. That is like the main reason why they have cheap costs, because Uber doesn't have to go like for her drive. The drivers just need to file an application, and that's it. They're Uber. They can drive an Uber. But other taxi companies, they have to go through tests, regulation, background checks. That the car should be checked. That there's laws for each car. There's law for the company. There's a law for us to have a taxi company. But Uber, because it's not registered in any country that it's a taxi company, so it gets away from what you call going through these regulations. So now the issue is the other taxi companies are going like, hey, wait a minute, that's unfair for us. Like, why should I go do all that background checks and just Uber comes out of a bloom and just take my business away, and like they're not doing what I do. So there were many taxi companies have filed lawsuits, and most of them won. Like if you see India, they banned Uber, China banned, the United Kingdom, they're thinking to ban it because they have a lawsuit, Spain, Germany, like even in some states and some cities in the United States, they're banning them. And I don't know if you guys heard about the French protest. Taxi companies have went on a strike because of Uber. They went on a strike. They closed on highways and roadways. It was a big thing in 2016. I don't know if you guys heard of it, because Uber is like, it's unfair. Why should I follow the regulation and they don't follow the regulation? That's the problem. So they got banned a lot. When the cities and like it's not like small cities or like minor villages, but it's big, huge cities, countries, like, and it's losing a lot of money, and not just money, they're losing businesses. So now it gives like its competition a better way. Like it gives their competition, like it reduces how competitive it is in the market. Now the other issue with this banning, Lyft does the same thing. But Lyft doesn't get banned. Lyft have no lawsuits. It doesn't have any like problems in any country. It doesn't follow the laws. It's the same as Uber, but it doesn't have problems. And that's another reason we are trying to figure out why, so that Uber can do the same strategy as Lyft. But there is no specific reason. Like there's no specific reason why. I read in one article the only reason that they gave was because Uber is this big blooming company. Lyft is still small, it's not very well known. It's just like in the United States, Europe, it's not very well known outside of the United States and Europe. But Uber is like all over Asia, Middle East, Africa, Europe, North America, South America. They're well known. So that's one of the reasons they said why. But we're still emphasizing on why Uber is Lyft and Uber are like not being held in the same standards. So the solutions for these problems is that Uber follows the rules and regulations. We all agree with that, and like all the governments, if they said if Uber follows the rules and regulations, we will let it into our country. But now the other fact is when Uber follows these rules and regulations, what happens? Prices skyrocket. And Uber's the main reason Uber is established, low costs, anywhere to any place. So now, if Uber went like, okay, I will implement all the taxi companies' regulations and everything, that will completely destroy one of their main pillars that they stand on, which is cheap. They will go up very high, and like they won't be able to compete in the market because they will be a normal taxi company.
So this is the prices compared between Uber, Lyft, and like a regular taxi company, how much they charge per ride. Taxi companies are still the highest and Uber is still the lowest. Next slide. And then these are the ratings between Uber, taxi companies, and Lyft. And even though Uber is the cheapest, they have the worst rating. And then taxi companies might be the highest, but they have the middle rating, and Lyft is still the highest. And that's still a reason why we need to investigate why Uber is being banned while Lyft is not, when Lyft is taking off and might be just as productive as Uber. These are the cost or the earnings that drivers will get or might get if they work hard enough. They're telling you how many hours they work, and then the money they make. For this driver made about $28, and the other rider made about $11, which is typical for a normal taxi driver. And then this is compare the earnings between Lyft drivers and Uber drivers, where Lyft is making a little bit more money than Uber, and it's being almost more beneficial to drive for Lyft, where they don't have as much of backlash against their company compared to Uber anyway. And then Uber is still trying to invest money in growing their company. Their profits are on top while their the investments or their losses are on the bottom. And they're willing to invest in the company to keep them growing and have their company be accepted by the public again, like it once was, or like Lyft is becoming.
So this is just showing kind of like the cash flow and the breakdown of what each customer is paying for as far as the percentage of the fees, the driver's salary, fuel, insurance, for the cost. One of the things with the ban is, in one of the articles I read, it ended about 40,000 jobs because a lot of people were actually depending or were Uber drivers. And in reading the article, I'm going to use London as an example, that one of the structures that they're trying to enforce is that they want to set their own fares, their own criminal backgrounds, their own data about the drivers, safety affairs, because they think that Uber is not paying enough attention to these responsibilities. We did find some customer ratings. Right now, I guess Uber's in the process of changing the way they rate for customer reviews. Before it was just the rating and then their comments. Now
We're out of time for class, but I'm going to offer you the same feedback that I've offered other people. You're talking a lot about Uber and you're not talking enough about you. And that means you're not going to get high quality feedback from your classmates. If you say, this is what I've done and this is what I'm going to do, then you might get good ideas. Someone will say, well, if you thought about doing this, if you thought about doing that, if you thought about it, but you're putting all the attention on Uber right now, and that means you're only going to get ideas about Uber.
Right, so this is what they have now.
Okay, you're still talking about Uber.
The problem is with our issue is it's more governmental. It doesn't involve the customer as much, because our issue, and if you remember, is the unfair competition. So unfair competition is done by laws and regulations.
What are you going to do next?
So now,
So there's regulations between taxi cabs where you have to do background checks, you have to pass like drug tests, you have to get like fingerprint backgrounds.
You're telling me about taxi cabs, you're telling me about regulations. I want to know what you are going to do next.
So what we did is we registered our car with Uber just to see what the regulations are, what the steps that they do to try to make it a fair business, just so we can know what the next step is.
That's really good, so you've done that. That's
Yes, we
cool.
did that. So you send a picture of your driver's license.
What are you going to do next?
We are gonna look through every law. There are many laws, so we're gonna take a specific city or a specific country.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I highly recommend that you do not do that. What else have you got?
So the problem is all about the law. So if you cannot do anything about the
What
law.
are you going to do next? Why is this so hard? Like, I know it's like you are like the fourth group, and I've been like, okay, so let's talk about you and say a word that begins with we or I or something like that. Why is it so difficult?
Because, so the only thing, as you said, the only thing that it's not only, we did register the car, looked at the laws, looked at the regulations, and I was proposing, but it was like, they said it's out of the world. I was proposing that we then register a taxi cab and compare the difference.
I think it's great.
Well, taxi cabs, they need a social security, they need that, they need this, they need like exams, they need like test background checks. So that
Look, the taxi cab drivers that I've had, somehow these guys all went through all of that. And you're an engineering student, I think you can figure it out.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but
Anyway, that would be a good experience with. So now that's something that you can do. What are you going to do next? Don't answer this question. I know it's really hard, but the point of this whole exercise is this is what we did. This is what we're going to do, and you're getting away from that point. So that's the only feedback. Yeah. Thank you. Adam.